It's hair time on Angie's website, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Magic FM. And a few weeks ago, I was talking to the wonderful Miss Luquessa Barak, who reads the news on Sky. And I actually stay up to watch you sometimes. And Luquessa has been holding some hair seminars. And we're very privileged this weekend to have Felicia Leatherwood. That is a beautiful name. She's here in the studio. And on this occasion, we're talking natural hair. The last time that I spoke to Luquessa, we were talking about chemicals and we were talking about all kinds of things. But we're here to talk natural hair. So Felicia, thanks for coming in.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm going to get straight down to business. I see a head of natural, extremely short hair. And I'm going to assume as a beautiful black woman, you had extremely natural long hair. What made you decide to cut it off?
That is the number one question. People go, how can you talk about hair and you don't have any hair?
But you do have hair. It's just very short.
Yes. And I tell them I wasn't born bald. I mean, I was. But of course, a couple of months later, I had a lot of hair. Yeah. I've had every hairstyle. I mean, from afros to twists to locks, braids, weaves, relaxer, pressed, you name it. It's been dyed, fried, and laid to the side. Okay. So now in my life, what I found is I love myself with no hair. It's just built the confidence. It's made me see myself in a different way. And it also helps the women understand when I talk about health and the importance of diet. They look at me and they look at my skin and they can see, okay, she does drink water.
And you drink a lot of water.
I drink a lot of water.
I asked you what you had for breakfast and you said water. And that was that. Was there a time when you were putting chemicals in your hair? And if so, how long?
Yeah. You know, when I was in my 20s, I did do what they call creamy crack. They call it the creamy crack. I think the name is so funny. But I did. I used to put the relaxer on, and my girlfriends and I, we would do each other's hair. And I would put it on and straighten it so hard that I ended up with scabs.
Yeah, we call that bone straight. But obviously you were using a stronger relaxer because you shouldn't have had scabs, really, should you?
No, but it's common. It happens to a lot of us who think that we're going to get a longer version of straighter hair by leaving it on longer and flattening it, with our hands and with the comb, which is really a myth. You're doing more damage to your hair.
And where does this myth come from?
I think we made it up. I mean, it's not true. It's just not true.
I am in the midst at the moment. I do wigs. I went natural for 2 years, but I did a lot of flat ironing. There are products coming out on the market now, I have been made aware, that can give you a straightening effect minus the chemicals. What are your thoughts on those products?
Well, I don't straighten hair with chemicals. If I do straighten hair, it is with the flat iron. And usually it's the roots get pressed because the roots are, the strongest, and then the hair gets flat iron. But I honestly only have a couple of clients that get that. So I'm not opposed to it. Just for me, it's always been the smell I didn't care for. I didn't like to smell the hair frying or being burned in any kind of way. And that kind of bugged me a little bit. If there are chemicals or non-chemical straighteners that women feel safe with, they've used them, they've tested them, they've done the research, and they feel that they're okay for them, I can't tell them not to use it. I don't particularly care for them.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are natural all the way. How long have you been natural now?
Except for the dye on my scalp.
We'll go to the colour in a moment because I do love the colour because it actually is your skin tone, isn't it? So how long have you been completely natural?
I've been natural, most of my life, with the exception of the 4 years I did relaxer in my 20s. But most of my life I've been natural. And it was not necessarily on purpose. When I first started out in Los Angeles, it's Hollywood capital, long hair is a big deal. I never had long hair. My hair would go to a certain length and then it wouldn't grow any longer. And so what I would do is I would do braid extensions. And the braid extensions helped me to achieve longer hair without my hair becoming longer. And I did that not knowing that today natural hair would be such a big deal.
And it's becoming a very, very big deal. The name Viola Davis has gone natural. She turned up at the Oscars with natural, very, very short hair.
Yes. And that's really her state of being. She said that her husband encouraged her to be naturally who she is. He said, what you do on stage is fine, your business. You wear your wigs, your weaves. He said, but as you are in real life, be who you are, which is naturally beautiful. And she has been huge. I mean, ever since she's done that, she's inspired so many women. I had 5 phone calls the next day after that press went out about her hair, where women said, I want to cut off all of this. She inspired me.
Other artists that have gone natural, Solange Knowles, Beyonce's sister. I'm going to assume that was quite a step, because when your big sister is Beyonce with the wigs and the weaves and all kinds of hair, to then be younger sister and say, well, actually, I'm just going natural. That must have been quite a step for her.
Yes, and it really separated her. I mean, it built a place for her to be her own person and not Beyonce's sister. So now the naturalistas look to her, and they're like, I want Solange's hair, and Kim Coles from Living Single. She even has been major in the natural hair business.
She had locks for a long time,
She had
didn't
the
she?
braid weave, like the little micro braids.
Yeah.
But she said she said she was hiding. And she feels now that she's free with her hair all coily, and kinky and curly. She feels so free. And she's been just amazing when she speaks to the women about being authentic and feeling yourself and being confident.
And now one of the other child actresses, even though she's a grown woman now, Raven Simone has gone natural.
Yes.
She only wears wigs and weaves for filming. She's now completely natural.
Yes. And that's, when you're in the business, and even for you, such as yourself, when you're on stage, when you're in front of cameras and you have to portray a role, it's okay to accessorize with wigs and weaves. In your personal life, it's really important to feel good and free and confident and beautiful. And what we're finding is when you're natural, that is the feeling that you're starting to achieve, is the freedom of just being you.
Who are the other artists that you have put your fingers through their scalp? Now, I believe Jill Scott.
Yeah, Jill Scott is amazing. I've had the pleasure of doing many natural hairstyles with her that have gone through the press and got critical acclaim. Kim Coles is another client of mine. Nicole Irie Parker is just...
Boris's wife.
Yes, Boris.
I need to talk to you, Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She, Yvette Brown, she's on TV and she has beautiful natural hair. So she's been coming to me.
What about the men?
The men. Who are some, this is the thing. Now, all the men now, they're cutting their hair off. But before, I did Cedric the Entertainer.
Love Cedric.
I braided Will Smith's hair a few times when he was growing his afro out. Anthony Anderson. Method Man. Hill Harper. There's been a lot of people that I've had the pleasure of working with.
Felicia, there's 2 more areas I want to talk to you before I let you go. One is hair in the workplace. The other area is with your daughters. Now, there are considerably more African Americans of higher profile in America than there are Caribbean here in the UK, considerably more African Americans in high profile positions. I mean, we're glad that Michelle's in the White House, but there are a number of women and men that we here in the UK can look at. But when it comes to African Caribbeans in high profile positions, there's considerably less. So having X amount of women in the workplace in America with weaves or ponytails or wigs or natural, you feel part of a community. I don't know that is the same here. I think it's changing. But have you found that in the workplace, African American women have felt the need to conform? Would that be the right word? Yes.
I get a lot of phone calls and emails about how do you still be natural in the workplace? Will you be accepted?
But isn't that just so sad?
It's society. It's where we live. But we have the power to change that, and I think we're doing so now. Viola Davis, as you said, is definitely one who has, I've read good things, I've read bad things. Some people don't understand. A lot of us are still in the mode of what they consider to be called brainwashing. And, a lot of times when you hear the phrase brainwash, you think of such a negative thing. Brainwashing is more about the conditioning of the people. So when you condition the people to accept only one way of being or one way of thinking, it is considered to be brainwashing. With our hair and our skin tone, we're having a lot of challenges with that. So what I've always known to be true, and I can tell you just from my own experiences, I've usually been the only African American in the workplace with natural hair. And I've always gotten the job on basically my resume. I always believed in myself. What I believe is you can go anywhere and people will accept you if you accept you first. If you walk in the door and you're kind of shy or you're wondering if they'll accept you, then yes, they will look at you and go, well,
you give off an energy and your body language is very loud, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Very loud indeed. I never used to believe it. Body language is loud.
It's the essence of who you are that goes for it. And that's in anything, even in a relationship. If you feel good about it, then everyone else will feel good about it. So you have to take a stand for yourself and feel confident. That's the whole thing when it comes to natural hair. That's number one. It's key is confidence.
Let's talk about young girls. Let's talk about young girls, especially here in the UK, who don't have as many role models as young girls, black role models as young girls in the US of A. My daughters love Raven. My daughters love Keke Palmer. You name them, because they're sitting down watching digital TV and they can aspire to be like Rudy Huxtable. And, there's a number of them. Not saying there aren't any here, but there are a lot more in the US. So let's take a young teenage girl, 13 years of age, natural virgin hair down to her shoulders. She has it flat ironed for an event. And then she goes out the next day and it rains. And her hair turns back. And she was looking forward to going to school with her flowing hair flicking so that she could be like the rest of her non-black friends. Mm. How do you inspire? How do you encourage a young girl in this way?
That's a two-part question. So, first of all, it starts when they're really young. If you do any study, children are more impressionable from the age of 1 to 7 years old. If you get them then, and you get them to understand their beauty just the way they are, they will know that when they straighten their hair, it's an accessory and not a complete lifestyle.
It doesn't determine who they are.
Yes, it doesn't define who they are.
Right.
So it's like putting on a red dress.
Okay.
You're not going to wear a red dress every day, but sometimes you feel like you want a red dress, so you put the red dress on. What's really important when you get them young is to show them pictures and books of women and little girls with kinky curly hair. If you don't have any, you take beautiful pictures of your child and you put them around the house. And when they're at school, you make one nice big picture and you put it right, you tape it to this TV screen. So when they walk in the door, they get to see themselves on TV. And you say, this is who you are. You're the star no matter what. So they always get to understand to love who they are in their authentic place, who they are authentically. Now, if they want to straighten their hair, talk to them about it. Have a conversation about the straightening before it actually happens.
Straightening with chemicals or flat ironing?
Whatever they decide and whatever you allow them to do, they need to understand the process of what's going to happen. They need to understand what mindset that they want to remain in. So that way, they're not thinking that this is now an extension of who they are. So they need to understand that this is temporary. We're going to go back to your beautiful, kinky, curly hair. This is just something you're doing for now. And they really need to feel good about who they are as children because they are looking at their friends. And sometimes the girls get made fun of. I've gotten emails from some of the women and the parents of the young girls. My daughter came home from school crying. They didn't like her hair. So it's really important to have a direct connection with your child and to express to them. And then the other part of this, the last part, it's really hard for you to be an example if you don't show them that you can do it as well.
I went natural for 2 years. I flat ironed when we were going out. I wore wigs. I went through phases of doing all kinds of things because my elder daughter wanted to relax her hair. I didn't want her to do it because I knew by the time she got to her early 20s, her hair would not have the same texture, the same richness, the same kinky curl. I knew it wasn't going to happen. And for that reason, I stopped relaxing my hair. Flat iron the front, couple of rows of weave in the back. But I'm trying to explain to her that it's just the way mummy looks sometimes. It's not who mummy is. But it is quite difficult, and I do agree with you, because children do what you do. Very rarely do they do what you say.
Yes.
So I totally take that one on board, and thank you for that. Okay, so here's another question. We have a 10-year-old. She's got lovely hair. She can flat iron it, and it tends to stay for a while. But she wants to go swimming. But the swimming cap isn't quite tight enough around the edges to keep the water from getting in. Not only that, the chlorine in the water isn't going to be good for her hair anyway. Should she go for a light relaxer, whether with chemicals, non-chemicals, or do we let her go swimming and condition the hair and flat iron again? How many times can we flat iron?
Well, that's a great question, because part of that is you scheduling her swimming lessons. So if she's going to be swimming on Saturdays and then, she wants to go to school on Monday with her hair straightened, then Sunday would be the day that you care for the hair, after she swims and you wash the chlorine out and everything. If you're trying to protect the edges, there's no real guarantee that they will not get wet. Every child's different. Every cap fits differently. I even have a client who has locks, and she's always swimming and trying to protect her hair. Now, I know for sure, and this is not a plug, but kind of sort of.
Go for it.
that Nicole Irie Parker did come up with an amazing headband called Save Your Dew. And Save Your Dew helps save the edges. It helps, when you sweat and you work out, and women with menopause that sleep at night and a lot of the sweating. So it helps keep the edges straight, without ruining them. The other part of that, and like I said, there's never a guarantee that your edges will not revert back, is that you want to be able to, I never recommend a relaxer, because now relaxers have been linked to a lot of diseases. And when I say diseases, I mean diseases, literally. It's something's going on inside of women of color that is not working, and it's not been approved, the chemicals that are in the relaxer. So now you have a lot of women coming out with issues. So you don't want to do that to a young girl, because their hormones are changing constantly and you don't know what the outcome will be. If your child is really pressed about this, you can shock the heck out of her and show her a woman who's completely bald and lost her hair from a relaxer.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a horrible thing to do. But, you kind of have to bring out the tactics and figure out what's the best way to introduce your child to loving her own natural hair.
As a hairdresser who specialises in natural hair, I know you say you only have 1 or 2 clients that like to be flat ironed.
Yeah, I mean, people go back and forth.
Yeah.
But
There's irons that you put in the oven, you have those. And then there's straighteners. What is your take on straighteners?
when you say straightener, you mean different types of flat iron, like the plug-in?
The electric straightener, as opposed to the oven that you put the irons in.
Well, as a cosmetologist, I never recommend that the consumer uses an actual oven stove, because it takes a very long time to learn how to temper the heat. It takes a long, you have to literally, it takes a while. It takes a while to really be able to know when it's too hot, when too hot is too hot. And a lot of times people don't test it. They don't test it. Even electric, you have to test it because sometimes with the electric ones, they have the dial that goes to 10. Never, ever straighten your hair on a 10, and usually what I've found is that the FHI or the Chi flat iron has been working very well, at least for me, when it comes to the plug-ins. But I do like the stove because what it does is it really helps to condition the hair if you have prepared it. If you've put on there's a company I've been working with, Beautiful Textures. They have an oil that you prepare the hair with before actually flat ironing it. And it helps protect the cuticle layers of the hair so that it doesn't get heat damage. So it's really important to protect the hair with a preconditioning treatment that is specified for heat damage.
Before I round up, I have to talk about your hair color. Now, you have extremely short hair. And you've dyed it. Mm-hmm. And it literally is your skin tone. What color is it, if I may ask?
It's blonde. I look like one big brown Q-tip.
Does that dye on your natural hair have chemicals?
I'm sure it does, but I use a vegetable dye by Nature Tint. And I like the veggie dye. It is considered to be all natural. It's safer to use. A lot of women, they want natural dyes. They'll say, well, what about henna? Henna only goes up to like a red, but I love the blonde. And so I go to, the natural stores and I get the Nature Tint.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
And hair growth and hair maintenance and also your diet. It's all really, it's all in one, isn't it? It's a package. Mm-hmm. Because I think we are under the impression, or we were under the impression, that what we put on our hair made it grow, made it silky, made it soft, but it's actually what we put in our mouths.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And it's our diet, it's drinking water, it's getting enough sleep, it's exercising to sweat out toxins, it's the whole package. It really is about looking after ourselves, isn't it?
Yes, it's the mind, body, spirit.
And will you be talking about this on Saturday?
I will. And
I look forward to that now. Where are we going to be on Saturday?
We are going to be on Saturday at
the Swiss Church.
The Swiss Church.
Okay.
That's LaQuisa in the background.
In Covent Garden.
In Covent Garden.
On 79.
Angle Street.
So that's the Swiss Church, Covent Garden, 79 Endell Street. What time do I need to arrive?
Okay, the doors will open at 12 noon and sharp.
And what time are you going to be throwing me out, Felicia?
About 5:30.
Make it 6.
6 o'clock? Okay.
I want you for that last half an hour. Thank you for coming to talk to me. And your website, you've got to give that.
Yes, it's Loving Your Hair with naturalcare.com. And also I am on Twitter under Loving Your Hair. And I'm on Facebook, Loving Your Hair with Natural Care Workshops. And women send me so many questions about their hair and their children's hair. So I am available. I'm here. I'm Googleable, as I say. So if anybody has any questions, you can just send it to me.
I will be asking you a lot of questions about my daughter's hair. Both my daughters have very long natural hair, and I need your assistance.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Thank you.